Okay, so what you're going to say, anything you say is online. Okay.
Literally, only 2 people watching right now.
Well, you can watch it.
Okay, so if you look at it, we're gonna talk about why do we talk fourth grade? The fourth grade is very, very important. A lot of people don't see fourth grade is important because I see fourth grade is probably the foundation of math. Why? Okay, so fourth grade is a foundation of math. So a lot of you guys don't understand. Says, well, what do I do when we do fourth grade? So let's look at the fourth grade math. Let's say 15 over 25. And we say we know how to simplify this, right? Hopefully. But here's I want to show you the slow motion of simplification. The slow motion of simplification is actually factoring the 15 and 25. Most of you guys don't see that, but what is supposed to happen is actually 5 times 3, and then 5 times 5. Okay. And then we can cancel out this, and then you say 3 over 5. So most of you guys don't see this, but although this is a very trivial, and you say, oh yeah, I understand this, and I don't understand, I don't really care about other things. So let's look at other things. So let's look at x plus 2 over x squared minus 4, something like this. The idea is you cannot cancel this 2 and 4, ever. Why not?
Because it's the whole expression and not the 2 just by itself.
It's not 2 by itself. Only time you can cancel if it's a factor. It's not 5 plus 3 and 5 plus 3 and the 5 plus 5 can cancel this 5. It doesn't make sense. You cannot cancel this x and x squared. You cannot say using the exponential rule. That's totally wrong. So what instead you should do is you're going to do the exact same thing as this. Is you factor this. Okay. So when you factor this, it's going to be x plus 2. I mean, there's nothing I can factor here, but I can factor the bottom. Can you tell me the factor of the bottom? Good job. Right? And not only that, a lot of time you make mistakes like this. You cancel this. You say, oh yeah, x plus 2, they are a factor. I can cancel them, and the answer is going to be equal to x minus 2, and that's wrong.
1 over.
So how do you prevent that mistakes? Put a 1, right. You put a 1 right next to it, you know, then you know it's a 1. I have so many people put on the test, they say, oh yeah, the answer is x minus 2, and that, oh no, it's wrong. Okay, so if you have something like this, you can simplify it the way it is, but you have to factor first. Once you factor it, you can cancel, then you can say 1 over x minus 2, and then you're done. Okay, that's how you simplify irrational expressions. Are we okay? So you can try one. So let's say x squared minus x minus 6 over x squared minus 9. So I want you to simplify this expression. Now you should be able to factor in your head now. Form a box in your head, think about a negative sign, what's going to be. Think about how you're going to simplifications, stuff like that. Those are easy factoring. I can give you a harder factoring, but this is easy factoring. Anybody can do this. Can you think of the box inside your head? Think about which number is going to be. And just kind of verify it has to be a negative x on the last row. So the negative has to go into negative 3. So you have to be able to visualize that. Right. How many of you guys not done yet? It's okay? So what's my factor on top?
X
X
plus
plus
2
2,
x minus 3. X plus
Oh, x
over
x plus 2.
you wrote 3.
On the bottom is x minus 3 and then x plus 3, right? So can I cancel this?
Yes.
And you write 1 to it, so that way you don't prevent this type of mistakes on the test. And on the test, when I see those mistakes, I get really frustrated. I say, okay, why are people doing that? And, but actually, it's pretty easy, just simplify it like that.
You don't need parentheses for the final answer, right?
Remember, if there's no parenthesis or you're not there. When we talk about if there's no parenthesis, doesn't mean that there's no parenthesis there. It's invisible. Just like 1, I don't write in front, but there's always a parenthesis on the numerator and there's always a parenthesis on the denominator if you look at any fractions. Okay? Are we okay here?
Yep.
One next thing that a lot of people have a problem with is, hey, how about can you simplify this? Let's say it's x minus 2 over 4 minus x squared. Okay. Now this one's kind of tricky, and be careful what you're doing. So here it says x minus 2, and here's 4 minus x. And you're like, okay, well, I don't know what is this, but we're gonna go try to simplify it. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna factor the top. Is there anything I can factor on the top?
No.
On the bottom, can I factor it?
Yes.
What is it?
2 plus x, 2 minus x.
It's a difference of a square, right? So then it's gonna be x minus 2 over 2 minus x and plus x. Now, is anything I can cancel here? Yes.
The x times 2 and the 2 minus x.
Okay, so what happened if you canceled it?
Then you leave. Am I right? Am I not right?
That's a negative x, not a negative, and the positive 2 a negative x, not a negative x.
Okay, so here's two arguments. Neither argument are wrong. Neither argument are right. So what does that mean? But you both have valid point. They can cancel, but how?
Take out a negative 1.
You should have taken out a negative 1, right? So you can cancel if you take out a negative 1, or you can remember if you have x minus 2, 2 minus x on the side, so you just say if you have x minus 2 and 2 minus x, technically what happened is this is equal to x minus 2, and I factor out a negative, right? And that's x cancel this, that's equal to 1 over negative 1, that's equal to negative 1. Or you can remember x minus 2 over 2 minus x. Every time they cancel because of the subtracting sign. Now, the plus sign's okay, right? It's plus sign's okay. But this minus sign is the one that creates havoc. So now x minus 2 and x minus 2 were to cancel, then I will write down a negative 1. So that's a faster way to do it, or you can factor out.
That's the answer.
That'll be the answer.
Can you get another answer or no?
Like,
Yeah. Alright, that was good. Wow.
Yeah, you're like frozen.
Oh,
There's better. Somebody just goes, this is epic.
okay, so negative 1 over 2 plus x. And so this one you would simplify all the way down here, and you are done. So let me give you a little bit more challenging one, right? So remember, yes.
Okay, so I want to know why I wrote the x plus 2 instead of 2 plus x. Because I always have the habit of putting the x before the number.
Okay, you can do that, but here, if you factor the difference of the square, it should be 2 minus x or 2 plus x. Or you can get negative x,
I see why.
negative x plus 2 times x plus 2.
I see why.
Yes.
Factor out the negative 1 in the beginning.
Can you factor out negative 1 in the beginning? Yes, you can. So you can choose to do it this way. You can choose to do it on the bottom. So I can factor out negative 1 here, and that change the order, x squared minus 4, right? Then that's going to be equal to x minus 2 over negative 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. And that cancel, that's going to give me 1. So it's going to be 1 over negative 1 times x plus 2 That's also another answer. You can distribute a negative sign in there if you want. Remember that negative sign can be float up or down. Questions? Okay, let me give you something that's challenging. This is no fun. So let's combine couple things. So we're gonna give you a couple examples. First, let's combine, see if you make sure you know how to factor all the things, and make sure I can combine the exponential rules in this. So here's the first three questions we're gonna get to. But you gotta understand, when you're canceling, you still follow exponential rules. So here's my question. My question is gonna be 2x to the second over 10x to the 3 minus 2x squared. Okay. Cannot? So here's my first question. Can I cancel the 2x squared and 2x squared?
No.
No, because what?
There's a parentheses that's invisible.
There's a parentheses example, but not only that, there is no factoring. Okay, there is no factor. This is not a factor. This 2x squared is not a factor. This one's a factor, but this one's not. So you have to be careful with this one. The next one is to see if you can factor harder ones. So it'll be 9x squared plus 13x plus 4 all over ax squared plus x minus 7. Now the next one here is going to be a little bit more challenging.
What was the answer with the 2x squared, or you haven't given us the answer yet?
I haven't given you an answer. I'm not going to give you an answer. Okay, so 18 minus 2x squared all over x squared minus 2x minus 3. Oh, thank you. You don't have to do that. It's okay. And 2y squared plus 2 all over y to the third minus 5y squared plus y minus 5. So now we just put everything in combinations. So there's some factoring that's typical. There's some full-term polynomials. There's other things that you have to worry about. So you can look at those and you say, hey, how do I handle this? And we're gonna go one by one very quickly. The third one is kind of challenging, so, and the fourth one is factored by grouping, because you see 4 terms.
For the second one, you can't really box method the first part of the equation.
You should be able to,
I
you
think it
should be able to use a box to factor it.
But
So let me check, 9x squared plus 13x plus 4 over ax squared plus x minus 7. Yeah, it's a factorable. It is factorable. Maybe in the extreme end, but it is factorable.
The 1x squared plus x minus 7.
Those two are both factorable. Just test you a different random factoring now, a stronger factoring now. So it's still, we still increase the level of difficulty. It's like playing video game. You guys remember Maple stories?
Yes.
Like, you know how you get to a level that you cannot handle? That you're going too far and you could just keep on dying.
Is that what this is?
Probably. Maple stories like back in the days, right? That's like 15 years ago. I think you're too.
you're old.
Okay, let's start with first one. Does anybody can help me with first one? Okay, you, let's go with it.
Okay, so you can factor down the bottom side, right? And then-
Denominator?
Yeah,
Okay, what can I factor?
2x squared,
So I can factor out 2x squared, right?
yes.
What do I have
it'll give
left?
you 5x, and then -1.
Subtract 1. Make sure you have to have that 1, because 2x squared times 5x equals 10x cubed, and 2x squared minus 1 is going to give me 2x squared. So now, which
And
one
then
can cancel?
You can cancel out the 2x squared and 2x squared, because they're
Okay.
factors, and 1 over 5x minus
My
1.
answer is a 5x minus 1 over 1. 1 over that. Okay, make sure. Some of you guys may just say 5x minus 1. I almost did that. Okay, so somebody help me with a top factoring this for him, yes.
So you're gonna multiply A by C, and you get 36, and then you find two numbers that multiply to 36 and add up to 13, so 9 and 4, and so you do 9x squared plus 9x,
What is it?
9x squared plus 9x,
9x squared?
plus 9x, plus.
Okay, so just give me a 2 factoring at the end.
Oh,
9x plus 4, x plus 4.
9x plus 4?
X plus 4.
X plus 4.
I mean, 1, yeah.
X plus 1. Okay, so if you use a box, it will come out to be like this,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Let's go with, Caleb, can you tell me the factor at the bottom? No?
I couldn't figure the bottom.
Okay, so I'll figure out the bottom, so it's gonna be 8, right? I usually don't write the shorthanded right now, so that's gonna be, if I do 4 and 2 and 7 and 1, that's not gonna get to 1, or 1 and 7. It's not gonna get to there, so therefore I have to do A and 1. So those are the extreme things, so those are the 20% that we talked about. So it's 1 and 7, so it's 8 and 7, right? So which ones need to be negative? So it's 8x minus 7, right? And x plus 1. And then this one would cancel, and that would be 9x plus 4 over 8x minus 7. Now what happened here?
Oh, you can take the 2 out of the top.
You can take a 2 out, okay?
take out -2, so x to x.
You can take out a -2, so let's take out 2 first, right? So that's gonna be 9 minus x squared over x minus 3 and x plus 1. Hopefully that's the factoring. And I can factor this a difference of a square, so I can say that's 2 times 3 minus x,
3 plus x.
3 plus x, over x minus 3 times x plus 1. So you see that I can cancel this directly, but I have to make sure I write a -1. Or I can factor out just this part at -1. So I'm gonna do that. 2 times -1 times x minus 3 over 3 plus x over x minus 3 times x plus 1. So this 2 will cancel out. Then you will have -2 times 3 plus x over x plus 1. And that's it. Don't distribute, leave as a factor form. Some people say, can I distribute this? No. Not like no as you can't, no as if you are, leave as a factor form is much better. Yes?
You can still put the negative, like, for both, like, either one.
You can put a -2 on the bottom, or you can put a -2 on the top, yes. Why did you put on the top? It just make my life easier. Do you think the last one's a lot harder? No, if you did well on yesterday's test, you know that's a 4-term factoring, right? So I can parentheses the bottom 2 term, parentheses bottom 2 term. So I can take out a y squared on the bottom and y minus 5, and then plus 1 over y minus 5. All over top, can I factor out anything?
It's
2.
2 and then y
2.
squared plus 1.
So y squared plus 1. So I still can factor, even though that's GCF, right? So you can take out 2. But then you're gonna finish factoring on the bottom, so y squared plus 1 y minus 5, close parenthesis, cancel 1, 2 over y minus 5, and we just finished all the simplifications. We can go through division and multiplication, but they're not much harder. The only thing is your first step. The first step is factoring. If you're factoring something, then you can get done. So then you say, okay, let's factor something. So we're gonna do one multiplication, one division, and we're done today. So let's go with multiplication and division.
I can picture of that.
Huh?
I can take a picture of that.
Oh, yes, you can take a picture now and put your phone away, that's fine. So it's not recording, right?
No, it is.
Okay, so yeah, it's also recording. Okay, so now, what do we do when we do multiplication and division? Well, multiplication and division, the only thing is you just follow the rules. Okay, so let's look at it. Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. So we're just gonna go through multiplication and division. So what happened is I'm gonna go through one, a very ugly one. This one's very ugly. Sorry, that's not this one. I'm gonna do 1 plus 3x over 2x times by 2x minus 4 all over 3x squared minus 2x minus 1. Now the division, I'm going to give you two examples. 8x squared over 3x squared minus 12 divided by 40 over 2 minus x. The last one is very ugly looking. 18x squared plus 9x minus 2 all over 24x squared minus 10x plus 1. It's like testing 4 different part factoring in one step.
Is that 3x squared?
And we might not get through it all, but we'll try it. So what's the difference between multiplication and simplification? Is there any difference? If we know how to do fractions, is there any difference?
No.
No, it's just factoring, right?
Is that?
So can I factor anything here?
No.
Can I factor anything here?
No.
Can I factor anything here? Yes, so 1 plus 3x over 2x. I can factor out a 2 here. Okay, so somebody's gonna help me factoring 3x squared minus 2x minus 1.
3x plus 1
2x.
x minus
3x, what?
3x plus 1 x minus 1.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's right. So then, now can this cancel?
If you make it negative.
No, you don't need to make it negative.
Take out the negative.
You don't need to make it negative because 2
But
plus
it's
3.
plus, so it's the same thing.
So it's called associative property, right? So 2 plus 3 and 3 plus 2, are they technically the same?
Yes,
Yes.
So can I cancel out without negative sign? Yes.
yes.
What else I can cancel?
You can cancel out the 2 because 2 and then times x.
So then you're gonna get x minus 2 over x times x minus 1. And you're like, oh, wow, that's easy. I just need to know how to factor. So by end of the day, you should be a factoring master, yes.
Why'd you cancel out the 2x and the 2?
What is it?
The-
Because this is a factor, right?
Yeah.
2 times x,
Oh, okay.
it's a factor. When it's addition and subtraction, it's not a factor. This is multiplication, there's 2 and 2, they are multiplication, they are element of multiplication. Good questions. The only difference between division is what?
You flip it.
You flip first. Before anything, you flip first. I just even rewrite it. Times 2 minus x over 40. Okay, now I'm gonna ask some of you guys, let's get cat. Can you see anything I can factor here?
Yes.
you are not the same color.
Denominator.
Huh?
The denominator.
Denominator, right?
Yes.
So what can I factor here?
The 3.
The 3, okay, so let's do that. X squared over 3 times x squared minus 4 times 2 minus x over 40. Can I factor more?
Yes.
Okay, so can I factor this, right?
Yes.
So ax squared over 3 times x plus 2, x minus 2, times 2 minus x over 40. Do you see anything you can cancel? Which one?
X minus 2, 2 minus.
You have to make it negative.
There is actually more than one you can cancel.
Oh, the 8 and the 40.
8 and 40, good. So, 8 and 40, right? So I can cancel out the 8 and 40, what do I left with?
1 and 5.
5 on the bottom,
1. Oh, X.
1 is here, right?
You can make
What
it
else I
negative.
can cancel?
You can make it
2 minus
negative
X,
and 2 minus X.
I can factor out a negative, or I can cancel just straight, and it's gonna give me -1. And that will, I just keep multiplying everything. So 1x squared times by -1, right?
Negative X squared,
Negative x squared, good. Over
3,
3 times 5,
15, X plus 2.
and last one, just kind of fun about auto factoring, so I'm not gonna do that part, I'm gonna turn off.
He's famous.
X twice.
Trying to turn off, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you're canceling down, the number that's on the denominator, the x plus, no, the x minus 2, and then the 2 minus x, when you cancel those out, the one that's switched will be automatically equal to -1?
Yes, you can cancel out, just write one of them as a -1. Or you can factor out this one as a -1 and change, you have to do an extra step. If I factor out a -1, it's gonna be x minus 2, then x minus 2 will cancel. So is that same thing?
Yes.
So that's it, that's your answer. Now that one, I mean, just kind of a lot of factoring, so sometimes you have to factor every single thing correctly. So by testing one question, I know if you know how to factor 4 different questions, they are very, very difficult, okay? But the idea is still the same, let's not worry about anything else, let's worry about ideas. So a lot of time that you try not to study, when you're doing SAT questions, you're not trying to do a lot of questions. You try and do one question, understand the idea behind it. Make sure you understand the idea is this. So SAT could be any random of those questions. It's not about how many questions you do, it's how many questions you truly understand. So if you understand these two concepts, if you understand the first one, simplification, multiplication, division, I'm pretty much done. Tomorrow we can go to, Monday we can go to addition, subtraction. And that's a big deal. That's what everybody confused. Now, here's a lot of people confused. Multiplication, you don't need the common denominator. Addition and subtraction, you do. Okay? That's why a lot of people had problems yesterday, is to try to create common denominator when you don't have to. But with multiplication and division, you just make sure you do, you can cancel in the factors, but you don't need common denominator. Division, the only thing you have to do is just write out one extra step, becomes multiplication. Technically, multiplication and division are exactly identical. I always treat this division as just like, so instead of saying divided by 2, you can say times 1/2. That's why multiplication and division in the PEMDAS is the same level. It's going from left to right. It does not go with anything, it does not say multiplication first, division second, because multiplication and division are identical. The only thing that's not different is that keep the change part, okay? So any question about this part? So anybody can factor the top? Let's try it 4 different people, as hopefully they can factor it correctly. Yes,
6x minus 1, 3x plus 2.
3x what?
Plus 2.
Plus 2? Oof, it's ugly. Next one, anybody can factor the next one. Caleb? might be pencil. The factor in your
Back to the
head.
bottom?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it's pretty ugly,
which one, the 8 or the 24?
this one. Maybe 6 and 4,
Oh, I was thinking 8 and 3.
6x minus 1, and then what? 4x minus 1, I think? I can factor that with my head, that's pretty good. Okay, times, now I'm gonna do this one on the top, right? Because I'm gonna keep flip change, right? So this two place is gonna change. So ax squared plus 18x minus 5, what's that factoring? Yep.
2x plus 5, 4x minus 1.
2x plus 5, and a what?
4x minus 1.
4x minus 1, over the bottom,
X plus 5. 3x plus 2.
yep, that's right. So you see a lot of things cancel. Boom, 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 boom. 2x plus 5 over x plus 5, right? Yep. The hard part is just the factoring, but the idea is still the same thing. Understand the idea, not understand how to do this problem. Okay, so a lot of people trying to study math, you can't study math. You know, you think math, but can you study math? No, you cannot study math. You just have to think about it, and you say, okay, what am I doing? This is what the idea trying to test me. On SAT is certain way. So you can only turn off.
Subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you enjoyed.
Press this button.
Can we get 50,000 likes?